Welcome to all the entrepreneurs, truth seekers, skeptics, and spiritually conscious souls tuning in. This is the 50 Entrepreneurs in 50 Days Abundance Mission, and I am beyond excited to have our third female guest, Suzana Mihajlovic. Let's dive into this divine rabbit hole immediately. Hang on, just make sure you hit subscribe first so you get all of the gold coming endlessly out here, and stay to the end because we have something special for you you're not going to want to miss. All right. So, Susan, thanks for being here.
Hey Rory, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I'm beyond privileged, and to me, you're like the human version of a Rocky montage. Anna, you know, I've been following you online for a long time. I draw great inspiration from your content. And the first time we met, um, you really created some shifts in me and got me kind of going on the path I am now, which is a lot better. So I don't even know if I've thanked you for that.
I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you so much, Rory. That's amazing.
So, that's what I think makes you next level, Susanna. You're like, if Bruce Lee and Socrates had a baby, wrote about Oprah, that's what I think of you as.
Gosh, well, as a child, I used to love karate. I used to do karate. So the inner child within me is just jumping up and down right now that you have aligned me with Bruce Lee, because she used to love Bruce Lee and Wonder Woman. So they were her two favorites.
Oh, well, you've got to be kidding me. Wonder Woman is still my favorite. In fact, I've cried in the last two Wonder Womans. I,
Did
I
you?
don't even know if I should be admitting that online. Anyway, always one of my favorites. Um, but okay, so for people who don't know you, Susanna, explain to the skeptics, who think elite mindset is just a fancy way of saying, well, I yell motivational quotes in the mirror every morning.
Love it. Love it. So, to me personally, elite mindset is actually the truth of who we are. So it's not, the more you just, so know thyself. I think it was Socrates that actually said that was first, know thyself. So when you genuinely start to explore who you are and start to unravel the truth of who you are, and I'm not necessarily meaning, Rory, in this human body, or Susanna, when you start to understand your mind, your higher faculties inside you, when you start to understand yourself from a quantum physics perspective, you really do understand that you do have an elite mind. You are infinite, you have infinite potential within you. But it's a matter of, do you have the discipline to let go of your past thinking of who you thought you were, and open up to some really deep truths about who you are. So elite performance is not necessarily just for athletes or for people that that want to achieve a Guinness Book of Records. It is about ordinary people wanting to understand themselves and understand and want to do some extraordinary things, whether that is to be the most incredible parent, which is probably it is the most important job, or if it means to, have your own international company doing what you love, or both.
I think parenting's got to be the hardest job in the world. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, Susan.
Yeah.
But the most rewarding, and yeah, I totally subscribe to that. Obviously, I've learned a lot about this stuff. I started looking into this stuff, God, 7 years ago when I had some really bad allergies, to be honest, and I just was
Uh-huh.
exploring, tried everything, doctors, surgery, everything. And I started going into frequencies. And, um, one of the things I realized is knowledge is not power. Knowledge executed is power. And I
Absolutely.
only learnt that very recently, Susan.
Yes,
But,
yes.
what's your secret sauce, Susan? Are you just kind of like sprinkling magic dust on people's brains, or do you shock them into greater ninja level mindset hacks? Tell me how you're making people go, forget coffee, I need whatever Susanna is serving.
First of all, I just want to say you bring so much joy to the world. Just being in your presence, I can't stop smiling and laughing, and immediately, you're taking us to an even higher vibe. Um, so listen, for me personally, it really just depends. I like to meet a person at their level and see where they're at. So there are some basic things that people need to know about themselves and mindset. That everybody needs to start off with these basics, I believe. However, if I could see that you are ready for more, you're ready to go deeper, I will really, start to help you open up. I don't do any of the work, by the way. It's you that's doing the work. It's the client that's doing the work. I have the knowledge and the experience and the track record. I've been doing this most of my life, but also my adult life in the past 8 years in business, just what I have achieved in business. And the career beforehand shows that I have the track record, and my testimonials show that too. So I have the knowledge and the experience and the track record to lead you and guide you, but the power is always within you. The power is always within my clients. So I can't take any of the credibility for the work that they do. And if I see that you're ready, I will go a bit deeper and take you a bit deeper and teach you about the invisible part of yourself. We combine a bit of quantum physics in there. I also have, as I think you may have experienced, Rory, I have an intricate ability to tap into people's blocks. I can just tap into a person within a few minutes and notice what's blocking them. So we unravel some of that in my one-on-one work. So it's a combination of spirit, mindset, and physical, which is the body, depending on where you're at. Now, my dear friend, and he was also my mentor when he was alive, Bob Proctor. I worked with him very closely. He would always say, we've got it upside down. So people don't understand themselves, first of all. They're living with past conditioning, but also they don't understand the law of attraction and manifestation. And a lot of coaches, now I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but a lot of coaches, I know even in the field of psychology, which was my previous, psychology and helping professions before I got into business, they focus on the physical and then look at mindset, right? But we need to turn it around. We need to turn it around and focus on the most powerful part of you, Rory. And the most powerful part of you is the spiritual, is the invisible, is consciousness. So it should go from the invisible, from energy, to mindset, then the physical. And, this is not woohoo. There is evidence after evidence, scientific evidence that shows that's where your 99% of your power is. In fact, the great Nikola Tesla actually spoke about this and was able to prove that Einstein's theory of relativity is based on these truths too. So you mentioned energy and healing yourself through energy. Well, Nikola Tesla said, the future of medicine will be energy, will be frequency. So you were right onto it when you said that.
Yeah, but you need that guidance, don't you? Like, you need someone who's been there, done that. Like I
Absolutely.
have that much knowledge, knowledge of it. I've
Yes.
consumed that much. God, I've consumed that much information on this kind of stuff. And my mentor, Susan, and I wasn't ready for you when we first met. I just wasn't ready. I think you asked me to go do it, go do some stuff, and I had found someone before that, but I absolutely intend to be rejoining you at some point in the future. And I did do the exercises that you told me, and I just struggled with those because I don't think I was ready. And I think you were very clear about that, that you said, look, you need to do these things first. But the one thing I learned was this stuff that you do, unless you discover that self-love first and it's authentic self-love, like not the ego self-love that a lot of us might mistake for it. I certainly did. Um, I certainly did. From being a lone wolf, right?
Yeah,
From being a lone
yeah,
wolf for 7 years, going through very, very difficult times in business. And it took me a long time and my mentor to realize just someone who stuck up for me in the way that no one else would. He said, mate, you need to love yourself. You don't actually love yourself. You're obsessed with beating yourself up. And if
yeah,
you don't love
yeah,
yourself properly, how are you going to love others? You can't be capable of doing that. Nothing else is going to work for you until you work that out. And you've built up such a big ego from being a lone wolf for so long that you just like you need someone to like that's got to go first, man. There's no point in you trying to achieve anything else. And
yeah.
what do you think of that?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why at Your Two Minds we have two things. I think, you absolutely have nailed it. And that's why at Your Two Minds we have a range of programs for people. Like I said, there's the baseline program, and we work with people for 6 to 12 months for a number. And self-image is an absolute core thing to work on. So your coach was absolutely right when he said that confidence, right? I relate confidence to self-image. There is, Corey, ample amounts of evidence dating back from the 50s or 60s that indicate your results in life. And when we say results in life, it can be, your relationships with loved ones, it can be money, business, any result in your life, okay? And the results that you're currently having will always match up to your internal self-image. Okay. Now, even though I had studied psychology at uni and had all this experience in the helping professions, for many years I used to think self-image was the image on the outside. So our style of clothing, our the image that defines us by the way people see us, the way we dress and our our interest in music, etc. Now that is a part of your self-image, but that's not necessarily the part that's going to change you. What I'm talking about now is the image that you hold of yourself in your subconscious mind. Very important. So if your image is of somebody that does not amount to much, okay, your results on the external world, whether it be relationships, money, business success, will always match that image inside. One of the things that many people, make the mistake of doing is they want to get a result. For example, they might want to lose weight, or they might want to earn their first $1 million in business, or they might want to get a promotion at work, or whatever it is. Yet what they do is they get into action. So let's use the example of somebody that has a self-image of being overweight, and they've been overweight for many years. And I use this example because many people have experienced this, or most of us know somebody that has experienced this, so we can relate to that example. So they go on a diet and they start to exercise and they lose weight, right? And what happens to most people is they're doing the actions, which is fantastic, and they're losing weight. But all of a sudden, whether it's 3 months down the track, 6 months, a year, they not only return to the weight that they were before, sometimes they put on even more weight. We've heard of yo-yo dieting, you know. Now, the reason why that happens is because the person has taken the actions without changing the self-image, the programming inside. Okay? So, your external results, even though you're taking the actions, your external results will always match up what's happening inside. Your marvelous mind, you have the greatest tool for success that ever exists. Every single person has it within them, and that's your mind. Now, what people don't know about themselves is your mind functions like a cybernetic instrument. So what that means is, cybernetic. So cybernetic instrument is basically a machine that has been created by humans that has a set limit put on it by the human. Okay, so it's designed to set the machine to that level. Okay, now what happens with cybernetic instruments, once the level has been deviated, it's changed, it comes back automatically to that level. So an example of that is the thermostat in your heater. So, you know, we've had some incredible weather in Melbourne, but we can use the air conditioner for an example. So 37 degrees outside, I put the air conditioner, the room's heating up, you know, inside. So I put the air conditioner on to 18 degrees to drop the temperature, okay? Now, as soon as a window is open or a door and the room temperature stays at 18 degrees where it's set. As soon as someone opens the door and comes in and the heat comes in, the room temperature increases, it goes, and as soon as it moves above 18 degrees, which is where the thermostat is set, okay, the cybernetic instrument in the machine, in the air conditioner, will kick in and say, right, there's a deviation, and then it will speed up the air conditioning to bring it back down to 18 degrees. That's exactly how your self-image works. Okay, so in the example that you were using about yourself, Rory, if you are not seeing yourself as a success, if your image in your mind is of somebody that's not worthy, therefore you feel like somebody that's not worthy. So that must be worked on. Every single client, I have had thousands of clients since I started my business, literally around the world. And self-image is something that I work on with every single client, even the most successful ones. So I've had people that are starting out in business and don't know the next step. I've had people that have had multinational, multi-million dollar businesses. Okay, we always go back to self-image. Do you know why?
You better tell me, because this is intriguing the hell out of me. Oh my God. My words need to be more impeccable. Okay. Yeah, please go on. This is really amazing stuff, Suzana.
So the reason why is every big goal you set, no matter what your past achievement has been, okay, the next goal you set will require another expansion, another version of you, another image in your mind of who you are as this person that's taking their business to the next level, that is having the dream life that they want, that is having the dream relationship with their soulmate, that is the parent they want to be, whatever it is. Everything requires a change in self-image.
Wow. And how do you break through those barriers for some, like, do you have trouble breaking through those types of barriers with some clients where they're just like, you know what, I'm fine?
Yeah, absolutely. That is such a great question. I actually think, and most clients are honest with me. I would say that in the 90s, 90% of my clients, 95, 96, do have trouble breaking through that barrier. Okay, that's why we all need a coach. That's why we all need someone that can move us past that, because it is set. Remember the cybernetic mechanism.
Yeah.
What I
That's the
see.
first time I've heard of it that explained that way, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And that is why I love to work with people a minimum of 6 months to a year, because we don't know how long. Remember, you have got so much crap inside you. We all do. Okay, that we've been carrying for decades about who we are. So often what I see is around the 6 week mark, not with everybody, not with everybody. I've had clients that just take off. Okay. On average, though, we're talking about average around the 6 week to 2 month mark. I can see, even if they're in a group coaching program, okay, I can sense when they're showing up, right, but they're not doing the work, or they're showing up but they've slipped. Okay, so the normal pattern for people is they start something new, they've invested money, it's a high ticket item that they've invested in, so they like, yep, this time it's going to be different, just like New Year's resolutions, right? So they do the work, they see changes in 1 or 2 weeks, and then around the 6 week mark it kind of becomes a norm. So the danger is then the old paradigm notices, there's a deviation. I've noticed this deviation. Okay, they're changing, they're growing, they're getting more money than what they've ever had, or they finally feel like they're worthy of this relationship. I've noticed that deviation. Now is a good time to pull them back. So
Man,
I noticed
you
that.
speaking about my life, Suzana?
Yeah, you know what? It's not only your life. So your subconscious will sabotage you. That's why we self-sabotage, right? Because it's the cybernetic part. It's that level that it's set. Okay. So so some people will get sick, some people will have an accident, some people will show up and pretend they're doing the work, but I can see immediately that they're not. Okay, so once they break through this, if they keep going, okay, and sometimes it might take just a quick message from me saying, hey, I've noticed you've slacked off, what's going on? I think the paradigm has kicked in. That is the kick up the ass that they need, and then they come back, okay, and start to focus. And that's when you start to see the results. Now, we don't know exactly when the results will come. I've had, in my 8-year journey in business, okay, I've had situations where I was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, doing the work to change my programming, going to the job, coming home, working until midnight. And for 18 months, I wasn't seeing any significant change, okay? And then I've had other goals that I've put in place, and no jokes, I was shocked at my results. Like within, when I first hit my 6-figure, so my goal was to replace my annual income in the job to a monthly income. So it was about 150,000. So I wanted that to be my monthly income. That's what I was focused on, right? And on this occasion that I'm referring to, it didn't happen in a month. I exceeded that in 7 days, and it was unexpected. Okay. So when you're doing this work, right, once you start to break through, in my personal experience, it took me a good 18 months just to see a breakthrough. Okay. The first 18.
Just while I got you there, Suzana, I don't want to break your flow, but this is something that really came to me with what you're saying there. So before that breakthrough, Susan, you mentioned that did you mention it took longer than you expected, but then it came within a month? Is that what you?
Yeah, so it took longer than expected to get to my first goal. So it took me 18 months, and I really didn't think it would take me that long, because this is what I've been doing, helping professions most of my life. But the next goal I had was to, to really boost up the business and go for
Yeah.
that. And that just happened. So I set that goal in May, and by October, November that year, I had already had my 6 figure week. The goal was to have 6 figure months, but it happened in a week. So yeah, so the
And did
work,
you have, sorry, Susanna, this
no,
is
that's
important
okay.
because I feel
Yeah.
like I'm living what, that right now. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've gone to the next level in every aspect of my life in terms of standard daily operations, meditation, visualization, mirror work, shadow work. And I have a very strict routine that's seen me get off. And I know what you're talking about, Susanna, when it comes to, um, that spiritual aspect and that, what did you call it again? The machine thing?
Oh, the cybernetic mechanism. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've lived that, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
question I have for you, I don't want to get off track. The question I have for you, before that breakthrough came, was there like a really, really, really hard period that came before that? Or did that come before that? Because my understanding is that when you get close, it's when it gets really, really hard. Is that something that you've experienced?
I love that question. That was absolutely what I experienced. Um, so when I was in the job, I would drive to work every morning, and as I was driving to work, I would be on stage with Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor did not know that I existed. And Bob and I were friends, and he was very proud of me. Okay. So I'll tell you what happened. So I went into business, and it was such a paradigm shift for me, because although I had a very successful career in senior management with the helping professions, did very well in my career, I had never been in business before. So when I left cold turkey. I left 31st of January 2017 with absolutely no job. And I thought I'd be able to work it out, right? Oh my God. Oh, that was just, oh. Anyway, so for all of my adult life, I think apart from a gap of about a month, I had a job, and every second week I would have a payment in my bank account for that job. Okay. So that was my paradigm. I go to work, do my work, and the pay would come in. Now, business is very different, and it requires a very different self image. So I mentioned Bob. So I went onto the path, opened up my business. My soul was wanting to do this ever since I was a child. As an adult, I could see myself working with Bob Proctor. And about 18 months after, I was so sick and tired of myself. I had 2 mortgages when I left, and they were fully mine. They weren't my partners, because I got them when I was quite young. So they were fully my responsibility. So I was $500,000 in debt. And it was good debt. There was no credit card debt or anything like that, but it was still debt. And in my paradigm, I had relied on someone else to give me money in the job to pay off, right? And I felt secure with that. So when I went in business cold turkey the way I did and just had to work it out, I got to a point, Rory, where I was sick and tired of myself. It got to a point that I had redrawn so much money from my mortgage to fund my business that there was not that much left to redraw. I just felt terrible about myself that I had done that. I had training in Toronto coming up, and I promised myself that because it's my business, I'll never miss training. I will always invest in myself. So I went to pay for that training and the airfare. And I went into my mortgage again, right, to redraw money. And when I saw how much was left in there, like I said, I had never been irresponsible with the job. I just felt horrible. I turned to my partner, Mark, and I said to him, I don't think I can go to training. And he gave me the best response. He's been in business all his life, family business, all of that. He just looked at me without flinching and he said, I don't think you can afford not to go. He said, you either risk it all, do this and risk it all and take your business seriously, or you might as well just quit now.
Damn.
Yeah,
That's wow. He seems
yeah,
like an amazing guy. I
yeah,
think you
yeah.
attracted an amazing guy.
So he knew business, right? And he had risked, and he knew that you have to risk to stretch, to grow. He went through the hero's journey, many times. So I said, right, okay. So I booked it, did it. And then I was in Toronto, Corey, and I was, like I said, I was just dying inside. I was just so ashamed of myself. I had never let myself do anything. And I knew I was like, to this level, and I knew I was better than that. And I've got your little laugh out loud in the chat box. And I had made a decision. I sat there was a competition, and I knew that I was going to win that competition. And the competition was, if you win, only two people would win, right? And if you win, those two people would sit in Bob Proctor's, oh my God, I've got goosebumps, bumps. Bob Proctor's Millionaire
Me
Round.
too.
Yeah, yeah, right? Now, the Bob Proctor's Millionaire Roundtable was only a group of it was Bob, closed door, no one else was invited, and a group of, I think, 10 people. These were the cream of the crop, millionaires, right? Consultants. And at that point, I had made a decision. I had made a decision that I was going to be in that room. I was going to be one of those people. And I did what it took. I was jet lagged. I didn't go out with my friends. I stayed in my room. I connected with, as many people that I thought I could help, to the point that that I just did not know what to do anymore. So I just gave it over to God. I said, I've done everything. I don't know what else to do. I'm going to go to bed. Long story short, I ended up being one of the two people. Now, listen to this, Rory, right? Oh my gosh. So the day had come to sit in on Bob Proctor's Millionaire Roundtable. So you can imagine I didn't sleep for as soon as I found out that I was one of the two, I wasn't sleeping.
Don't tell me you got imposter syndrome or something.
Of course I did. Imposters. No, actually, I felt like I didn't get imposter syndrome, but I did feel like intimidated by everybody there, if that makes sense, because my self-image was not up to the level of the millionaires that were in that room. But listen to this, right? I got into that room, finally, the day comes, and I walk into that room. Listen to this. Now, Bob Proctor knew who I was at that time. He wrote a recommendation for my book, but he did not know me that well, okay? But he knew my name and enough to say hello and how you're doing. Listen to this. Oh! I walk into that room, and everyone was in there, and there were only 2 seats available. Can you guess what 2 seats they were?
The one right down the end of the table where no one was sitting at.
Yes, well, no one was sitting at, exactly. You're absolutely right. So it was a round table. It was on the other side, but one was the one right next to Bob on the right side. The other
Oh
one
no.
was right next to Bob on the left side. So I had no choice.
That's crazy.
I know. I had no choice but to sit right next to Bob Proctor. Had I entered the room any earlier, there is no way in the world at that time that I would have chosen to sit next to Bob. My self-image wasn't there yet.
That
Um,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
I agree. I would have been like, well, I have to sit next to him now, but
yeah.
I don't think I would have gone and chose to sit right next to him.
I was freaking out, Rory, freaking out. Anyway, by the end of that meeting, I had a question to ask Bob, but I was too shy to ask him. And one of my friends who was sitting 3 people to the left, I picked up my phone to take a photo of Bob because he was right there, right before it was ending. As I pick up my phone, I get a message from Declan, and it said something like, I can't remember the message, but something like, ask your question. You have the same merit to be here as all of us. He didn't even know. I didn't tell him that I had a question. So I asked Bob a question, and long story short, went back home, was shit scared in the plane. Am I going to achieve what I've set out to do? Long story short, after that, Bob and I became accountability partners, emails going back and forth every single day. There's not a day that went by that an email back and forth, one going to him, one coming back to me. And that was the turnaround that I needed. So in answering, I know that was a long response to your question, but yes, for me personally, the biggest win came just after the greatest darkness that I've ever experienced in terms of financially and can I do this? Absolutely. So yes.
That's such an amazing story. And I go back to when you were saying, I'm going to work with Bob Proctor and the quantum physics behind that. A lot of people don't even know how quantum physics works, right? And that's not judging them, of course. It's something that, really drives me is to show people that this is actually science. When you're talking about visualization, when you're talking about affirmations, when you're talking about, what you declare, you create. This is even prayer, people who believe in prayer, that there's actually a science behind that. And it's like the world's most, how do they say it? It's like the secret that's in plain sight. You know what I mean? Um, it just amazes me. And it's not just you, Susanna, that says about that breakthrough and those next level quantum shifts. It's like everyone that I speak to that's gone through that has that real dark, dark night of the soul before it
Yes.
happens. And I just
Yes. Yeah,
get really,
absolutely. Yeah. Are you familiar with Joseph Campbell's work at all?
I'm not. No, I haven't
No.
heard of
Okay.
Joseph Campbell.
So Joseph Campbell, he was an anthropologist, I believe. He wrote the book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. So he has studied stories of heroes over and over and over again, from ancient days to today. And there is a thing called a hero's journey. Paulo Coelho, in his book, The Alchemist, and many of his books, writes about it also, where,
Fantastic.
yeah, oh, it's a great book, isn't it? Where, the universe conspires to help the person with the dream. But, I would add to that, I would add the word brave. The universe conspires to help the person who is brave enough and who has really made a decision to go for their dream. Because if you've really made a decision, you need courage, because your dream is, you're doing something out of the norm. You're doing something that you've never done before. You're doing something that many other people might not have done before, right? Okay, so you need courage. And also, once you've made the decision, it doesn't matter how many times you've been slapped in the face, you get up and go again, okay? I needed courage to say, far out, I'm going to make that final redraw on my mortgage and go overseas to get this training because I need it, because I'm taking my dream, seriously. I think most people, had they received that type of advice, whether it was from their partner, from a mentor, there are people that even Bob would mentor and they wouldn't listen, right? So a lot of people that heard that advice that I received from my partner would probably say, oh, nah, too risky, I wouldn't do it. Most people. So I had the choice to stay comfortable, and had I not gone to that training, I'd probably be back in the job now. Okay, so you need courage, and you need to make a definite decision that this is yours, no matter how hard it gets. Okay, you've got to align with it. And you're absolutely right. Visualization, image, the I am in image. Okay, I am, I'm. Okay, so imagination, right? Image. You are designed in the image of God, whatever God means for you. So imagination is your higher faculty connecting you to your inspiration. What is inspiration? It comes from source. It's a part of your intuition guiding you, right? So when you imagine, you are using your higher faculty. You are creating an image in your mind. Your subconscious thinks that it is here now. So your mind, being the greatest tool for success, will find a way to get you there.
Now, speak to the opposite of that, Susan, if you can. Because what I don't want to do is preach to the choir. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but I want people who speak. Okay, speak to the person, Susan, who feels like they're driving down the road. I can speak to this about being myself because I was comfortable. I had a good job. I was getting paid good money. I even worked with people that I liked. I worked with my sister and my family. I loved seeing my family. But just driving down the road, driving in traffic, like I always remember the time. It's just something was just started crying out to me saying, there's more to it than this. There's more to it than that. You
Mm.
know, what do you say to people who are just starting to see those signs and start having those feelings, and
Yeah.
don't know what it is, and maybe they're feeling like there's something wrong with them?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I would just invite you to explore those feelings. Ask yourself, what is this about? What is it saying to me? What if, what if there is something out there that I want to be doing? You don't have to take immediate action. Just tune into it. Listen to podcasts like Rory's, or things that inspire you. Listen to inspirational music that quietens the mind down while you're driving. Allow yourself to dream. You don't have to take action yet, okay? You may decide never to take action. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with anything, okay? But explore it. Allow those feelings to enhance, to grow rather than suppress them. Every single person there that has created something great, that has lived a great life, went against the norm, followed that inspiration. So if you are a person that Rory has just explained, that you are starting to have some inspirations, but you don't know what they are and you're feeling like you're crazy, well, remember, you have greatness within. You have greatness within you. So just like anyone else that has achieved something great, okay, trust yourself and allow the image, the inspiration to come through, because you don't know where it's going to lead you. And if you suppress it, then you will never know. But if you allow it to grow and just enjoy it without putting the pressure on, having to do something immediately, okay, it will blossom. And I'd like to just wrap that up by saying, well, what if I suppressed my inspiration of when I was driving to work in the traffic and not allowing myself to go on stage with Bob and be friends with Bob in my imagination? What if I had done that? What if I did not trust that? What if I did not allow that? And I did what everyone else was saying I should do: keep a secure job, or don't dream, that's impossible. By the way, I didn't share that with anyone. No one knew that as I was driving to work, I was on stage with Bob Proctor, because, Rory, I didn't want to get, sometimes well-meaning people, they kind of look at you in a weird way, or, their energy's like, oh, who do you think you are? You're not going to do that. I could not risk that energy. So I just kept it to myself and I allowed it to grow. So anyone else that's experiencing it, if you don't have somebody that is fully supportive of you doing this, don't worry, just keep it to yourself and enjoy that time of dreaming. So that's what I would suggest.
Amazing. And Suzana, I do want to, I will have to wind this up soon just because I have something coming up. But I mean, I would
Oh.
talk to you literally all day. Um, but uh, you just keep forming more questions for me. So, okay, right. We know that, look, some people are perfectly happy, Suzana, working the 9 to 5. They don't want, they might not see life the same way as an entrepreneur sees it, right? They might be happy and comfortable that they just want to be the best mum they can be, right? They're happy doing their 9 to 5 because they go out and they enjoy their workplace. They like where they work, you know. And then there's people, I think that entrepreneurs walk in the opposite direction to the 99%. So what experiences do you have around dealing with family that can't seem to get what you're doing? Does that make sense to you?
Oh, it absolutely makes sense. And that's why I laugh. Look, I have the most beautiful, loving family in the world. I love my parents. They are just beautiful people, big hearts. And at the same time, my parents are migrants. They came to Australia over 50 years ago, and they came from, a rural farm. They grew up generations of peasant farmers. Okay, so they worked the land to survive. Incredible people I'm just in awe, and I just think, if God forbid something happened, like, to the economy or whatever, they would survive. I'm just in awe of their intelligence and everything that they do. However, their knowledge of this information, of who we are, of definitely of what I do, even to this day. I was saying to my mum, I've been invited to another speaking gig in Bali and also in Belgrade in Serbia, where they're from. And she just kind of looked at me and she just didn't, I could see they don't understand what I do, so so their idea of success, which it is success, was, you go to university, you finish your school or you do a trade, you get married, you have kids, and you pay off your house as soon as you can, and you don't, invest in a lot of luxuries. Okay, so that was the expectation of me. Now, I'm also very blessed that I had a father who was a dreamer, and he had big dreams for me. as you know, the female. So he taught me how to dream. So I never ended up getting married or doing the traditional thing. But to this day, they can see that I love what I do, and they're very proud of me on one hand, but they don't understand it either. So how do I handle that? And I think it's a great question for anyone. You might have supportive parents or a partner that doesn't support you or doesn't understand, or friends or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like, it's more about, people might be worried about you. My parents worry about me. Like they worry,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
it's like it can actually, the best intentions for someone you love can sometimes not be what that person needs. Do you know what I
correct,
mean? And if you're
correct.
forceful on it, on giving your opinions, which, I can't fault my parents.
Yeah,
I have a very, very
yeah,
lucky family.
yeah,
I have a big, supportive family. I don't have
yeah,
anything to complain about. I haven't come from a broken home or anything like that. Um, but you know, they are very much the same.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I live with them at the moment. Do you know what I
Yes,
mean? So
yes,
it's like,
yes,
what advice do you give
absolutely.
using those situations?
It's a great question because I think most people have some form of experience with that. So you must feed your own desire. All right. So everyone does it in a different way. Listen to podcasts. Go while you're driving. Imagine. Go test drive that dream car. Go on that holiday. Whatever it is, you must every single day feed your desire until your desire becomes your deep purpose. And even then, to this day, I have to revisit my mission and my vision for Your Two Minds, for my company. Really important every single day. And tell your loved ones only as much as you need to. Show them rather than tell them. Okay? Show them. And if they still don't understand, that's okay. Bless them anyway. Bless them anyway. They will eventually come along with the journey, even if they don't understand it. Now, we don't know when eventually is. That's none of your business. Your business is to feed your desire, change your self image, do the work on yourself, and align with your mission and purpose until it becomes, it saturates every single soul, every single cell in your body. Bless them, bless them, bless them. And only tell people as much as they're able to hear. That's what I would do. You don't have to tell anyone your goal. Even to this day, I just tell a very minimal amount of people of what my goal is.
That's really good advice, and I wish I'd heard it about 5 years ago. So, all right. Well, look, I've got so much to ask you, Susanna. I have to ask you about this. You don't have to answer this if you don't want, but I know that Bob passed on some time ago. How did that impact you?
Oh, great question. Look, to this day, I really, really miss Bob. There were times when he died, it was a bit of a shock. It was just after it was around the lockdowns towards the end, so we didn't have a chance to see him as, I would see him and meet with him 3 times a year. And it was always just incredible, not being able to write to him or whatever. What I do now, though, I know he's with us in the energetic field. He used to say to us, it's really interesting, Rory, listen to this. So the last time I saw Bob in the physical was February 2020 in LA, and it was just before the lockdowns. And I was looking to put a post up shortly after he died, right? Just to something in, as a memory of him. And I was looking through my photos and I thought I'll put a video up, and I didn't even know which video. I just tapped it and put it up on social media. Then when I listened to that video, he was talking about death. And he said something like, you never die. Because someone in the audience had asked a question about their loved one, and he said, they're around you now. You know, no one ever dies. All you have to do is be silent and still and connect to that their spirit. And you'll hear them, you'll hear their direction, you'll feel their energy. And guess what, Corey? This morning, it was probably about, it was later in the morning. I just went into my bedroom, sat on the bed, and I connected to Bob and my grandmother and, you know, a few other people, Jesus Christ, his energy. And I just sat there connecting and being in presence with them. So he's taught us well that you can always tap into a loved one's energy. And although we miss him in the flesh, it would be great to just say, hey, Bob, what do you think about this? He promised us that he's always around. So I trust that he always is.
Yeah, the old Rory could have heard that a long time ago, Suzana. You know, I lost my brother at 21. He was 18. But I've learnt that dealing with it at the time would have served me in a very positive manner. But what I mean by that is like actually feeling the pain. Don't push it away, right?
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
integrate the pain. But let's be honest, 20 years ago or 25 years ago now, it's not like that knowledge was readily available. We didn't have YouTube, we didn't
No,
have any of
you're
that
so
stuff.
right. Yeah, you're
Um,
so right. And I'd imagine, especially as a man, you know, I think it would be probably even more difficult to talk about the grief and experience the grief as a man at that time.
yeah, because you've got to be the man of the house. I was the oldest boy, everyone told me how well I'd handled it. Um, don't think I handled it well at all in hindsight. I didn't feel like I was handling it. I felt numb. I felt like
Mm.
life was a video game. But I really subscribed to that. And this is something that my brother-in-law spoke to me about, is that energy can't die. Energy it doesn't die, it just transforms, right?
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
and so I really believe that. I really believe it now. I've seen it now for myself when if you reach out and ask for that guidance, like it might not come immediately, but it will come to you like when you're not expecting it,
That's right.
2 hours, a day down the track. But you need to be open to that kind of messaging. For
Yeah.
me, it's like, I remember, all those years ago. Like the thing on the brochure at the church was like, I've only gone next door, I've only gone
Mm.
next door. But to me, there felt like there was a wall between that and next door. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it was
Yeah.
like, okay, he's next door, but I'm never going to see him again. You know,
Yeah.
and but and hindsight's not really all that beneficial a thing. All I see in hindsight is all the signs I missed, you know.
Yeah.
But
You
it
see,
does show you, like, and just speaking to people like you and seeing that video came up, and from the things that I've seen recently, just the messages the universe has been saying, I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me if you're not telling me all my spirit guides are around me right now, you know.
yeah,
And I wouldn't have necessarily, I would have thought that was woo, like
yeah,
a long time ago. But it doesn't surprise me that's the video that came up. It doesn't
yeah,
surprise me now that when your colleague from work sent you that message, it's
yeah,
these things are so incredibly powerful. And it's just that
yeah,
unknown, mysterious part of
yes,
life that
yes,
really
absolutely,
is so
absolutely.
inspirational.
So inspirational. And also, when you open up to it, it comes. But, for any of your audience members that might be grieving and that might be experiencing a hard time because of the loss of a loved one, there's a book that Bob Proctor would always recommend. I've recommended it to countless clients that have lost someone, and it's by Robert Russell, called Wipe Those Tears. Wipe Those Tears. And that has helped. I personally haven't read it, so I can't tell you too much about the book, but he recommended it to anybody, and my clients have given me very good feedback about how much that book has helped them.
Amazing, Susanna. Look, I wanna ask you probably just a couple fun questions. But part of me feels they're just like a bit inappropriate now. But let's finish off with a couple fun ones. But
Sure.
before we get there, Susanna, you know, powerful meditations. Okay. Um, do you recommend any particular meditations online for that you really subscribe to, or any techniques that you subscribe to particularly?
Sure. So there are so many different meditations out there. I would really say to people, find the one that works for you. And if you're a person that finds it hard to meditate, just start with 5 minutes every single day. Commit every day to 5 minutes in the morning. If you can do it a few times a day, that would help. For those of you that that find it difficult to meditate, what I would do for 5 minutes, okay? Breathe in to the count of 4, hold your breath to the count of 4, breathe out to the count of 8. Keep doing that for 5 minutes, okay? And slowly notice your body becoming still. If you get distracted, just bring yourself back to the breath, okay? Another thing that is that research studies have shown, if you can't do long meditations, do coloring, okay? So studies show that coloring adult coloring in coloring books, it helps to rewire your brain. It helps you relax. It helps to reduce anxiety. It helps you sleep better at night if you're doing it consistently. We believe in it so much that my co-author and we just released the Renewing Your Mind workbook. And in that workbook, we actually have every chapter has a drawing for people to color in. So that's what I would suggest for people that are beginning, either one of those two or both of those two, if you can. For those of you that love meditation, just sitting outside for 15-20 minutes, sunrise, and grounding yourself, putting your bare feet in the dirt or in the sand or whatever on the floor. We don't ground ourselves enough. And just, closing your eyes and bringing yourself to stillness. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza meditations, but they are long. So if you start with the smaller ones. There are some shorter ones. So that's what I would recommend.
Oh, I'm a massive fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, but I can't stay awake for 40 minutes of a
Yeah, they are
meditation.
long. Yeah, that's right. So I would
They're long.
suggest, you know what, 5 minutes every single day. If you do that for 3 months, you're gonna see changes in yourself. 5 minutes a day breathing or stillness or whatever, 15 minutes coloring every day, you will notice a difference in yourself. So the small things to start off first, okay? You want to create a routine, you want to create a habit, you want to see the changes so your mind starts to see that there are wins, right? So then it's more likely you're more likely to open up to deeper meditations and find what works for you. Even walking can be a meditation. So, yeah.
Cool. And look, I got one more question. I know you probably need to go now. Uh,
That's okay.
Talk to me about the power of mirror work, Susanna.
Okay, so mirror work is very, very powerful. May I suggest for anyone, it is also very confronting for most people, especially when you're starting off. I have a suggestion. Rather than going, if you don't like mirror work, rather than going straight to the mirror and feeling like, oh, this is too much, in the morning, right? First thing in the morning, brush your teeth with your opposite hand. So if you're a right-hander, do the opposite. Okay, it's uncomfortable. Okay, once you've done that, look at yourself in the mirror and say a nice statement. God, I love you. Or it's going to be a great day, Suzana. Great day today, Rory. And if you have an affirmation, so I was taught this by Peggy McCall. Don't use, we look at ourselves in the mirror with both of our eyes, but really only one eye is capturing, you know, the attention, right? So what you want to do is, if you have an affirmation or a statement, cover one eye, say it deeply to that eye first 3 times, and then the other eye, okay, 3 times, so that both sides of your brain are experiencing the connection. So that's what I would suggest starting off with, you know, mirror work.
And just a brief overview, if you can, about why mirror work. Some people might not understand why. My understanding is that you're going back to address your inner child and things like that.
You can do that. So most of our issues, not all, most of our issues come from our experience in childhood. Okay, not all. Of course, we have adult traumas and adult things that happen to us. So I heal the inner child. So often, you know, these feelings of, oh, yuck, you know, you look horrible, or I can't do this. You know, you're absolutely right. Often they do stem from childhood. Not always though, okay? There are people that have been in abusive relationships and all sorts of things that happen. I do something different for inner child work, but all right. So when you look in the mirror, you are looking deep, you know, in your eye, you are facing yourself. So what happens is all of the issues that you have are likely to come up. So number one, it's a great opportunity. It's great to experience that, even though it's uncomfortable. You know why? Because you're starting to understand they're coming up, so you can release them. Okay? Now, the more we can look at ourselves and say, gosh, you know, Rory, you're freaking amazing. Look at you. You've just helped 500 people, you know, do X, Y, and Z, love themselves more. God, I love you. That actually goes deeper into your subconscious. Remember, your mind, okay, your mind thinks in images, right? So if you think about this, you know, if you think about your house, your best friend, your sibling, your car, images pop up in your mind, okay? So in the mirror, you're looking at an image, and you are feeding that image a new idea, a new truth, or the truth about you, okay? So therefore, if you keep doing that, you're going to rewire your brain. You're going to eventually be functioning from that level of vibration, and it's deep emotional work. So when it's deep emotional work, okay, emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. That's why feeling is the secret. Your feelings not only control your behavior and then your results, your feelings are a great indication of why you're stuck, of what is in your subconscious. So by changing your feeling, you are changing your feeling of yourself, your confidence, you are rewiring your brain, you are changing your self-image and the thoughts of who you are in your mind.
Wow. You just put that so well. Okay, I'm going to finish off with just 3 questions, Suzana. Number 1, if your life had a song track, what would it be?
Oh, I love that.
Soundtrack, sorry.
I love that question. Oh my God, I'd have to think about that one a bit more. Was that in the questions you sent me? Oh God, I
No,
have to
no.
think about the first song that came up. and I don't even like. It's probably because I love the song. It doesn't have anything related to the words. But the first, as you were saying that, the first song that came up is "Sweet Child of Mine" by Guns N' Roses. So I'll have to go through the lyrics again to see whether there's any relation. But I do love that song, and I have many memories of singing that song. So I'll just choose that one for now, although it's not a soundtrack.
Amazing, amazing. I think that suits, and that definitely from it's one of my favorite all-time songs.
Oh, that's
Um,
incredible.
a quote that you live by.
A quote that I live by: know thyself. Full stop. Full stop. Sums it up. Everything.
And finally, oh God, I can't think of something now. Let me have a look. I had some questions here. Just one second. I think we got to finish this off with a bang. All right. Finally, uh, if your younger self asked, what does success look like? How would you explain it without sounding like a fortune cookie?
Oh, that is so good. I love that. All right. So I don't think I've ever been asked this question before. So I'm going to have to connect to my younger self. I would tell her that success means that you just see the light in who you are and trust yourself because you know so much more than what you give yourself credit to. You are a child of God. Now, God, change the word around if you don't like it. I'm comfortable with that word. You are the light of the world. So everything is okay. Everything is perfect, and so are you. Go for it. That's what I would say to her.
And I think that that is a fitting end to an incredible interview. I feel extremely privileged. Susanna, your energy is on fire. I
Oh,
thank you. I
thank
feel
you.
it. I am very grateful to have met you. Um, and I really hope that we can do this again because I think that we could do 10 more interviews and still get amazing stuff out of you.
Well, Rory, I want to tell you thank you. It was my pleasure. I think it was our energies combined. Like I said to you to start off with, you just have a beautiful energy. I love the work that you are doing, and I hope this is helpful to your incredible audience. And just invite me back. Happy to serve and happy to share this space with you. Thank you so much. And you are rocking the world, Rory.
Bless you, Susan. This has been the 50 Entrepreneurs in 50 Days Abundance Mission with Suzana Mihajlovic. Stay tuned, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you've made it all the way here, and check the link in and the links and all the stuff in the description down below for how to get in touch with Susanna, where to find her book, everything that she's been doing, and I highly, highly recommend that you at least follow her on Facebook and reach out. If you want to go to the next level, you've seen it for yourself. Jump on board the energy train. And Susanna, thank you again, and I will see you next time.
Thank you so much, Rory. Thank you so much. See you soon.